You pulled away and now she can't stop thinking about you. At first she told herself she didn't care, she thought she had all the power. But now something feels different. She expected you to chase, but instead you vanished. And that's when the doubt creeps in. That's when she starts overthinking everything. That's when she realizes you were never as attached as she thought. So what happens next? Does she come back? Does she start chasing? Stay with me, because what you do next changes everything. 1. The silent shift that changes everything. Most men don't understand the true power of their absence. See, when you were always there, texting, calling, initiating plans, she never had to wonder about you. She never had to second-guess where she stood with you. She never had to miss you. You were always available, always predictable. And here's the harsh reality. Predictability is the killer of attraction. But the moment you pull away, everything shifts. At first she doesn't even notice. Oh, he must be busy, he's probably just distracted. He'll text me later like he always does. So she doesn't think much of it. She goes about her day, assuming nothing has changed. But then a few hours pass, then an entire day, maybe even 2, and suddenly something feels off. She checks her phone. No messages, no missed calls, no. At first, she thinks she's in control, notifications from you. That's when the shift begins. That's when she realizes something is different. At first she convinces herself she doesn't care. He's just busy. Maybe he's out with friends. It's no big deal. But then another day passes. She picks up her phone expecting a message, still nothing, and now she can't ignore it anymore because now a thought creeps into her mind. Why hasn't he texted? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest in me? And the moment a woman has to wonder about you, you've already won too. Why women always notice when you pull away? It doesn't matter how independent she is. It doesn't matter how busy her life seems. It doesn't even matter if she's surrounded by other men. She always notices when you pull away, but she won't show it at first. She'll pretend she doesn't care. She'll post on social media, laughing, having fun, acting unbothered. She'll hang out with friends, keep herself distracted. She'll even tell herself she doesn't need you. But inside she's watching, she's waiting. She expects you to break first, to check in, to ask how she's doing, to reassure her that you still care. Because that's what most men do. Most men can't handle the silence. Most men panic. They start overthinking. What if she thinks I don't care? Maybe she's waiting for me to text first. I should just send a quick message, right? And the second they reach out first, the power shifts back. Because now she knows she still has you. But when you don't reach out, when you stay silent, everything changes. Now she's not just noticing your absence, she's starting to feel it. She might try to ignore it. She might try to distract herself. But deep down, she's wondering, why hasn't he reached out? Did I mess up? Is he talking to someone else? And suddenly, the same woman who was once so sure of herself now, she's doubting everything. 3. The emotional roller coaster. Begins psychology of missing someone. Have you ever wondered why we only appreciate something once it's gone? It's simple. The human brain values uncertainty. When something is always available, we don't appreciate it. We take it for granted. We assume it will always be there. But the second it disappears, everything changes. When you were constantly chasing her, she never had to think about you. She never had to miss you. She never had to wonder if she was losing you. But now she has no choice. Your absence creates space, and that space forces her mind to fill in the gaps. At first she just shrugs it off. She tells herself she's fine. She distracts herself, but then a random song plays and she thinks of you. A certain smell reminds her of the last time she saw you. A conversation with a friend brings up your name, and now she feels it. That pull, that curiosity, that growing tension in her mind. And the best part, she doesn't even realize it's happening. Her emotions are reigniting. Her mind is bringing you back into focus. And now she can't stop thinking about you when she starts watching you from a distance. Here's where things get interesting. She won't reach out right away. Why? Because she doesn't want to look weak. She doesn't want to admit she misses you. So instead, she watches. She starts checking your social media. She notices when you're online, she sees who you're interacting with. And the more she watches, the more she starts overthinking. Who is he talking to? Why does he seem unbothered? Is he moving on? She won't text. She won't say anything, but trust me, she's thinking about you nonstop. She might start posting things to get your attention. Maybe a picture that reminds you of her. Maybe a song lyric that sounds personal. Maybe a story that seems just a little too indirect. And if you ignore it, that's when she starts to panic. 5. What happens when you stay silent? Most men fail at this stage. They get a few days into no contact and they break. They convince themselves she's waiting for them to text first, so they send a quick message, "Hey, how have you been?" And just like that, they lose the power because now she knows she starts testing. You has you. But if you stay silent, if you hold your ground, that's when things change. She starts feeling regret. She wonders if she underestimated you. She questions if she made the wrong choice. She realizes you're not like other men. And that's when she starts making moves. She might like an old post. She might reply to your story. She might find an excuse to text you, but no matter what, she will find a way to test the waters because now she's the one chasing you. 6. The emotional roller coaster begins. At first she brushes it off. Oh, he'll come back, he always does. She tells herself she's in control, that she made the right choice by distancing herself. But as time stretches on, something feels off. She expected you to reach out first. She thought you'd be the one trying harder. But instead, silence. And that's when it begins, the emotional roller coaster. She never saw coming at first. She rationalizes it. He's probably just busy. Maybe he needs space, that's normal. He'll definitely reach out soon. But as the days turn into weeks and she sees no effort from you, the self-assurance starts to crack. She starts questioning herself. Did I push him away too far? Did he find someone else? Has he completely moved on? The confusion turns into frustration. Why? Because for the first time, is not the one in control. She's not used to being the one left wondering. She's not used to feeling uncertain. She's not used to losing someone who was once so available. And this is where the panic begins. 7. The moment she starts testing you, most women won't admit they miss you. Why? Because pride is a powerful thing. No woman wants to be the first to fold. No woman wants to feel vulnerable. So instead of reaching out directly, when doubt takes over her mind, tests you. And here's what that looks like. She suddenly starts liking your old posts. She posts indirect quotes or stories that seem aimed at you. She sends you a random meaningless text like, "Hey, do you still have that jacket I left at your place?" She finds excuses to bump into you, acting like it's coincidence. But here's the key. None of this is accidental. She wants to see if you'll take the bait. Most men, they fail this test instantly. The moment she throws them a breadcrumb, they jump. They reply too fast, they over-explain, they get excited thinking, this means she wants me back. And in that moment she wins, because now she knows she still has you. But if you ignore her tests, if you don't react the way she expects, that's when the real shift begins. 8. The realization that hits her hard. Something inside her starts to change. The longer you remain distant, the louder her thoughts get. She replays past conversations, she questions her own choices. She wonders if she made a mistake, and then the biggest realization hits her. You actually pulled away at first. She thought you were playing a game. She assumed you were waiting for the right moment to come back. But as time passes, she starts to understand, this isn't a game, you actually detached. And that's when her entire perception of you shifts. Because now she doesn't see you as the guy who's always there. She doesn't see you as predictable. She doesn't see you as someone who needs her validation. Instead, she sees you as someone she's losing. And women chase what they feel they're losing. 9. The fear of losing you sets in. This is the phase most men never get to see. Why? Because they never give a woman enough time to feel it. Most men, the moment they sense her pulling away, they chase harder, they overtext, they over-explain their feelings. But if you resist that urge, if you actually stay detached, that's when something powerful happens. The fear of losing you hits hard. She starts fearing she lost something valuable. At first, it's just an annoying thought. Maybe he's just being stubborn. Then it turns into frustration. Why isn't he texting me back then? It turns into actual fear. Wait, is he actually done with me? And fear is a powerful motivator because when a woman feels she's losing something rare, she does whatever it takes to get it back. 10. The power of staying unavailable. This is where most men mess up. The second she reaches back out, they give in. They reply instantly. They tell her they missed her. They act like nothing happened, and just like that, she wins. Because now she knows she never truly lost you. But if you remain unavailable, if you don't just jump back in at the first sign of interest, everything shifts. She starts working harder. She starts putting in effort. She starts proving herself to you. And suddenly she's the one who's unsure. She's the one who's afraid you might be gone. She's the one who realizes she wants you more than she thought. 11th, the subconscious. She chefed in her mind, something is happening inside her, and she doesn't even realize it yet. At first, she only thought about you. Occasionally she figured it was just a temporary feeling that would pass, but the more time that goes by, the more frequently you invade her thoughts. She wakes up in the morning scrolling her phone wondering if you texted. She goes about her day seeing reminders of you everywhere. She's out with friends laughing at a joke, but something feels off. It's not intentional. It's psychological. See, when a woman gets used to your presence, she mentally categorizes you in her mind. You're there when she needs you. But when you pull away, when you remove yourself completely, that entire mental framework collapses. Now she feels the void, and that void forces her to question everything. Was he actually the one pulling the strings this whole time? Was he stronger than I thought, did I? What happens? When she reaches out, completely misread this situation, and the moment a woman starts doubting herself, that's when the attachment gets stronger. Because now you've become a mystery, and mysteries are irresistible. 12. When she starts overcompensating. Now she's in a strange place. Her ego won't let her admit she's missing you, but her emotions, they betray her. So she starts overcompensating. How she tries to prove to herself and everyone else that she doesn't care. She might suddenly become extra active on social media, posting more selfies, going out, more acting. Like she's having the time of her life. She might start talking to other guys even if she's not that interested. She might even go out of her way to look unbothered whenever you're around. But here's the key. All of this is for you to see. She wants you to notice. She wants to trigger a reaction. She wants to force you to come back. And if you do, if you text her because you saw her out with someone new, if you break your silence because her posts made you jealous, she wins because now she knows she still controls your emotions. But if you stay detached, if you refuse to engage, that's when things start to spiral for her. 13. The moment she finally breaks. No matter how much she fights it, every woman has a breaking point. At some point, the frustration turns into actual longing. Because here's the truth. Women don't miss you when you're still there begging for them. They miss you when you're completely gone. And if you've stayed silent long enough, if you've truly disappeared from her world, she will break for some. It happens in a few weeks for others. It takes months, but eventually she gives in. She'll find a way to reach out. Maybe it's a random text, hey, hope you're doing well. Maybe she accidentally calls you. Maybe she shows up where she knows you'll be, whatever it is. It won't be random. It's her final attempt to see if you'll return to her on her terms. And here's the most important part, what you do next. How to keep the power and make her chase determines everything. 14. What happens if you react too soon? Most men fail this final test. The moment she reaches out, they get too excited. They instantly respond. They drop everything to give her attention. They let her back into their world without hesitation. And guess what? She immediately feels the power shift back in her favor. Because now she doesn't have to work for you anymore. She knows she has you. She knows she can get your attention anytime she wants. And suddenly that excitement, she felt that longing, she had that burning curiosity. It disappears because now you're predictable again, and once you're predictable, you lose the upper hand. But if you handle it the right way, that's when she truly chases. 15. How to keep the power and make her chase. So how do you respond when she finally reaches out? It's simple. You stay detached. You don't ignore her completely. You don't play childish games, but you also don't act. Desperate, if she texts you, you wait before replying. If she asks how you're doing, you keep it brief. If she tries to pull you into a deep conversation, you control the pace, and most importantly, you don't go back to how things used to be. You set the tone. You make her work for your time. You let her prove herself to you. Because now the roles have reversed, you're no longer the guy chasing her validation. She's the one chasing yours, and that's when you've truly won. So now you know exactly what happens when you pull away. But what's next? If you want to keep her hooked on you, make sure you're playing this game the right way. The video you see on the screen right now, that's your next move. Click on it. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one.